What's up, guys? Drew here with another one. We got us our special guest today, the first guest that we're gonna bring on the show. We got our man
First in the building. You already know what it is.
and
Arnold.
so today we're just gonna do things a little bit different. So since we got us a special guest on here, we're gonna, usually we'll talk about personal development, spiritual growth, and current events. So today we're just gonna have a conversation. It's let's talk. So without further ado, we're gonna get the show on the road. What is considered to be normal? What is considered to be normal is what we agreed upon as a collective. That don't necessarily mean it's normal. You got to think about that for a second. Is that really normal, or is that normal because we all said it was normal?
Facts.
So that's just something that we got to think about. So, for instance, right, I'm gonna give you an example. This right here, right? This is called a pen. We named it a pen. We all agree that it's a pen, right? So if I gave you this and you never knew what it was, what would you call it?
Facts.
What would you call it? So we define the basically we give name to things, right? To explain how we experience life. So we give that's the reason why we use words, but people put so much value behind certain things. Like, why do you put so much value behind that? It's just a word, man. I went back, I watched the Matrix, right? I watched the Matrix Revolution. I watched it. I'm about to finish the whole series, but I watched the last one and I was just taking notes in terms of how they were when he was stuck in like the limbo place to get on the train, and he was talking to that guy, and they were talking about love because he loved his daughter. He was like, "Well, you're a program." He's like, "How can you feel that? That's a human emotion." He's like, "No, that's just a word. It's just a word." Well, because we put so much value on the word love. What is love? We can't you can't physically hold it. You don't know what it is. It's just something that you feel because they put it could have been anything. The word love could have been anything. It's not like, okay, this is a definite word that you have to use
Facts.
for this.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
so in terms of like the value that we put on the meaning that you put on anything, right? You see the meaning that you put on anything is that's what the value comes from.
I think that was a pretty interesting way how you framed that whole, that exchange. That's very interesting, bro. How you frame that, because emotionally, that's when you give that value, then that's just it. Then it put that's you're taking that on, right? So whatever whatever that was said to you, boom, and then you accept it. Then that becomes you, and you see
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So that was very interesting how you framed that, man. That's dope. That's dope right there.
It's crazy taking that back to my question, right? What's
Mhm.
holding us back?
Yeah.
And I think it's what we value, the
Ooh.
things that we put value to, right? Money, we value it too much, right? Words, certain words, that we put all this value towards. And we
Mhm.
say, well, if someone says X, Y, and Z, I'm going to, oh, wow, okay, this is that. If I have a chain, I have a certain car, I got a certain image, right? What we value as a people is what holds us back. And I
Mm.
think that's interesting because
Yeah.
value is key, right? I should value you more than money, right? Because we're people, right? You're my peoples, right? That's how it should be valued instead of me putting this value on the dollar that, always says, what is it again? Oh, shoot.
Fiat.
Fiat money, right? Well, money is nothing, right? It is a piece of paper. We give it value and say as a society, we're going to utilize this as $20, $10 and exchange it for services or for things. But at the end of the day, what is that? Like the word love, it really is nothing.
Exactly.
What we actually put value in is what we're going to get out of this life. And I think as a collective, as people, if we change the way we think of what we value, I think we could change as a people.
Exactly. And it
And
goes
that goes
back.
for me as well, right? You have to understand that and really start to dig deeper there as to what you care and value. Because
Okay.
if you don't and you don't fully understand that is why we're in this situations, right? If they could tell us, right, listen to this. I'm in a gang. I'm on whatever street. I'm valuing that street that has no value. This is my block. Because think about that logic. Oh, well, because you just, now they just shift. Oh, no, you need to value this block. You're on this block. Now you take this block, but now you're giving another guy another block. That's the value they're putting into that. But if they took that same energy and put this into anything else, into family, into love, or anything. But I think value, that's a great point that you made with value. I actually really like that. Value is cool. And I think between value and who benefits is two big things that we should think about and really kind of talk about a lot moving forward, because who's benefiting from us being divided and who benefits and what we should moving forward value is key, in my opinion.
To go back to the value thing, right? We have to understand something, right? The things that we look at, right? So when you look at something, right? The point of view that your perspective on it, right? If you change the way how you view the thing that you're looking at, that thing will change. So you know how the person be like, oh, this is my block. Okay. So what happens if you move? Then what? Is it still your block because you moved? You know what I mean? They raise the price on you. You can't live here anymore, or you living with whoever. You can't live here anymore. Is it still gonna be a block because you don't live there no more? And I know you ain't gonna come back and be like, oh, why are you on my block? Where are you from? You know, so just those little things. It's like, it's one thing if, you know what I mean, you own like 3 or 4 buildings on the block, then maybe you can say that. You know, you have real estate on the block. Hey, go ahead. You can say that because you have property now. But if you're just saying that because, you know, this is where I live, you don't know how long you're gonna be living there. Anything can happen. You know what I mean? A tornado could come and pick your house up and throw it over there. Now you got to move. Right. Is it still your block? You know, but that's not something that they think about in terms of, you know, how, oh, you say we need to be in the moment, right? Some people think about things in the moment, right? But they're not really in the moment. You get it? So they'll think about it. Okay, this is my block. This is all I know. I don't know anywhere else. I'm not going anywhere else. This is where I'm gonna be. I don't expect. Yeah, I've seen my friends or whoever. This is all we ever do. There's nothing beyond here. And even if and then the other part would be you'll see somebody else that try to get out and then they come right back. So that would be a validation for, oh, nah, I shouldn't even try myself. What? I already seen Ray. He came back. He was talking big. He back now. He chilling here with me. But at the same time, it's like, how do you know that? Why don't you try for yourself? You know what I mean? How can you jump to that conclusion if you never tried? What is the bad thing about us progressing as a people? Why is it that you're trying so hard to hold us back? Is there something that we clearly we don't necessarily know what it is? And I'm pretty sure the people that are benefiting from this, they clearly know that if we get to a certain point, things are gonna change because, you know, it's not set up for us. So
I'm gonna chime in real quick. Just chime in real quick, right? So cool, right? So ultimately, right? So you know me, right? I'm right. So in terms of context, right? So we're gonna create some context around, you know, 2 things that you guys just spoke upon, right? So putting that into context, right? So obviously, when you guys was just talking, we were talking based upon a system that we were in, right, that we are living currently within. You see, why I say context matters this reason, right? I think that we as a people will do an assessment on us as a people, right, and a fear assessment based upon the conditioning from us, from, and I'm trying to pick the right words because I want to keep it within its right context, right? So we as a people will talk about our condition, right? We'll do an assessment of it, right? Which is fear, right? However, the part of it that seems to kind of get me, because ultimately, right, is as if we understand, you see, we only look at history right up until slavery without even understanding before slavery, we actually stood on top of the world in terms of we actually led, we were the leaders, and we did a phenomenal job. And because we were infiltrated, but I'm going to stop there. I would say let's educate ourselves to even understand that we actually had civilizations, we actually had democracies well before the current, right? So unfortunately, I feel as though when we even have even any conversation about the conditioning, the mental health, right, about us as a people, we then have to then go back to what came first, the chicken or the egg. We just understood imagery matter. Again, please show me a group of people that they show constantly the way how they show us as a people constantly. And again, we as a people, we have to endure these things, like you said, Drew, earlier, right? You said, then we go out and we're interacting with these individuals, but then, right, when it's beneficial for them, well, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter. Now when you look at imagery, you don't even see Black people really out there. But Black Lives, you see every other group besides Black people. What's that about? We could go there, but just just a little thought provoking
Yep.
content, right? So again, so I'm not saying that how you guys were analyzing the conditioning that we're in as a people is not fear based upon the as far as the assessment goes, but I also think it's equally important that we understand, had we been a group, an independent group, and if that was the result of that, then you could say that yes, this is because of lack of, maybe we don't know how to organize, and we probably should be at the bottom of the poll because we can't lead any more so our people or even a group of people into any progressive motion, you know what I mean, in that sense. So in terms of context, that's my position that I will take on it, as far as I feel like. And then for me, even some of the things that I said, right, to me that song's like mainstream media, and I'm going to say why, right? I know you, right? You're my brother, right? So at the end of the day, the way I see it, right? So knowing you don't check off any of those, any of those statistics, right? You don't, none of you guys meet any of those statistics. Actually, when I hear you guys talk about team building, you guys talk about activism, right? So literally, right? So now I have to ask myself where, and then when I meet other groups of people, Black people, right? And I'm having conversations with these individuals, similar age groups as myself, right? So I'm like, where's these mainstream media getting this from? Don't you guys think it's interesting when it comes to how they illustrate the framing of these statistics? They do it with the regular people, right? But then when it comes to illustrating the best things about people is through the lens of celebrities, right? And then they create a narrative, going back to your point, who gains from this? I have an opinion of who gains from this, right? That Six Family owns 90% of all media, all media. Let's understand that, to what that even means. So who benefits from it? Who benefits from the narrative? Who benefits from the agenda? Again, we talked about just the last one in the agenda, which is control. We still got four we got to talk about, right? So that plays into that bigger picture, in a sense, when you understand the importance of making it to where us as regular people, oh, you can't trust those people. They don't even trust themselves, right? They don't even like themselves. They will, and again, and you're like, what? I don't feel like that about Black people. Like, what? We don't what? Like, where is this coming from? And then again, they create movies, and then you're like, well, shit,
Yep.
this is in a movie, so I guess it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. So I guess I should feel like that about what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, right? And then you put it in a rap song, rap, yeah, I'm gonna see my brother and I'm gonna shoot him in his face, right? And another thing too, right? And I know I'm kind of touching on a couple of different things, right? But right, so you got to ask yourself this, right? Right? Think about it like this, right? If you see a white person, right, do you be like, what up, honky? You don't. If you see a Spanish person, do you be like, what up, spick? You don't, right? But why is it that it's acceptable, right, that we have other groups that we don't refer to them in their, um,
Racial slur.
racial slur, correct, right? But then we now, as Black people, conditionalize a word to make it seem like it's cool, but that hits. I mean, like, just think about that, bro. It makes no sense, bro. Because if you went right now to your person that you're cool with, you be like, "What up, spick?" They will get ready to rip your head off, but yet still it's okay for them to call you a nigga, right? Come on, bro. So at the end of the day, we gotta understand, bro. At who is this being directed to? At the end of the who? Yeah, I mean, so that's all I really gotta say on that.
But I want to touch back on the thing that you said about not knowing beyond what happened for slavery and how we were living, right? That could go back into answering the question of why they want to keep her separated. Because if you already know the history, right? You already know the history, you're teaching the history in school. And beyond that point, you don't really hear much about it, right? You notice that the history that they teach is only up to a certain point. But before that, you don't want to hear that, oh, black people were kings and queens back in the day. It was like, nah, we don't need you to know that. We don't want you to know that. Because then you'll be like, wait, what? We were? Now you might feel entitled because it's like, wait, we were that way. And how did we get to that point? But it goes back to this, right? If you can control the present, right? Meaning the history that you teach, then you pretty much can create any narrative that you want. Because half of the things that you learn in school, you don't even use that stuff. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, how do you not send your kids to school? Because at the end of the day, they still need to learn. They still need that experience. I think you go to school for the experience more than the learning, because half of the things that you learn, you're not really utilizing that. Outside of math and writing and reading, what, bro, and then when I think about it, right? So, okay, now listen to this one, right? So I go to school to get a degree, right? And then when I graduate, I get a degree and now I got to get a job, right? I get a job to make money, right? So how comes you don't teach me about money? So when I get it, how am I going to maintain it, manage it? What should I do with it? How comes you don't teach me that? But you're teaching me, oh no, go to school, get your degree so you can earn money. And then what? Spend it? So how am I there's no class about money. There's no class about money unless you're an accountant. And even I got an accounting degree and I didn't they didn't the only class that was somewhat beneficial to me was taxing. I did tax, they taught me about taxes my senior year. How are you going to teach me about, and that's something that everybody have to do every year, right? You would think that that should be a core class. Like, yo, you need to understand what it is, there's ways you can write off stuff and things like that. Regular people don't know that because they don't get to take that class because they're not an accountant. So how is it that you don't teach me about taxes, you don't teach me about money, but this is a school you want me to go to? I really see it as you go to school to learn how to be an employee. That's really what it is.
Oh, of course.
That's
I
this
mean,
really.
you should be taught that in high school, really and
Mhm.
truly. I mean, that should be. I mean, your senior year, you have a class about finances in general that goes over money, credit cards, mortgage
Mhm.
payments, and all this stuff. Kind of go over all your financing, so you
Mhm.
can
How to
understand.
use debt. You know what I mean?
I
You,
mean,
you
but
know.
we know who directly benefits from us not understanding that is the
Yeah.
banks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We do.
You
Yeah.
know, they directly benefit from us not understanding it, and they don't want us to understand it because the more
Exactly.
we know, the less we're going to put ourselves in these situations to utilize them.
Nice. Well said, man. Well said. Couldn't say it better myself. That was dope. Right. That's the best way to put it, man.
Actually, I do want to chime in and ask you a question, right? I know the other day we were talking, right, an experience, right? And could you talk a little bit about that particular
So it was pretty much this experiment. I can't remember what the exact. I'll try to explain it the best I can. Right. So they're in an office setting, right? A doctor's office setting. Three people go in. They in on this whole thing. So when the horn blows, they will stand up. Then a couple seconds, they'll sit back down. So the whole idea is to see if they could get when new people come into this doctor's office, see if they could get them to then get in tune with this horn just going off, standing up, and the horn goes. Then they sit back down. So it starts with the three people that's in on it, right? Somebody walks in, they start. They get up, they sit down, they get up, they sit down. By the third time they get up, the lady that just came in, she's now on board with getting up without them explaining why. That's the big key here. They don't say a word. They just get up, they just sit down. Another person walks in, same deal. After a couple, they start doing it. Third person, after a couple, they start doing it. So now they said they're going to take the experiment to the next level and start taking people out, right? So they took the 3 people that initiated this, right, that were in on it. They started one by one pulling them out, but still keeping that every time the horn goes off, they stand up, then they sit down. 3 people are out. So now it's the only people that are sitting in this waiting room now are the folks that have no idea what's going on, but they're still getting up every time that horn goes on. They stand up and they sit down every single time until they call everybody out. Then, actually, I didn't even tell you this part. They started introducing new people into it.
For outsider who doesn't know the rules.
For a noon appointment.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Great, thanks so much.
Why was it?
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do?
So it kept on doing the same thing. So it's very interesting. So it pretty much is, like we do things without fully understanding it. That's kind of the whole point of it.
That's what you call social pressure, bro. It's really social pressure. And, in terms of that, it's like, because naturally we want to fit in. So, you come in and you see everybody standing up. If I see that, I'm like, I'm not standing. What am I standing up for?
See it. People are just like,
yeah,
why are you standing up? But no one's saying a word.
It goes back to this, right? Let me just say this. A lot of people, they lack awareness. So they just go along with what they see. They don't even question anything. See, you walk in a room, everybody's standing up when the horn goes off. Everybody get up. You get up. And even the fact that you said that they removed the people that originally were in on it, right? That just tells you that.
That's what made it really wild to me.
Exactly.
And it started really introducing other people. So they had no kind of skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they still kept doing it.
Yeah, because we're just all trying to fit in, man.
I guess we all got to ask ourselves, what horn are we standing up for?